Hello, everyone. I am Ananda Ishaya, and I'm here with my great friend Madhurasa, and we are going to share with you today a topic that is important for life, for living, is feelings. And I don't know you, Madhurasa, but they didn't teach me when I was young. And when I say they, I mean my parents, the school, no one, no one.
I agree. No one ever talked to me about feelings. I just thought whatever I felt was true.
Yes, and I didn't know how to handle emotions. Sometimes I had sadness or I was angry and I didn't know how to manage my feelings. So this is going to be our experience, and this is going to be our tools that we use in order to manage, in order to live with feelings, but not only feeling them, but observing them. And we will talk about that in a few moments. So that's with my introduction. Take it away. Raza.
Well, we just got past the holiday season, and that's a season where a lot of people have a whole jumble of happy emotions and being frustrated and disappointed. And for myself, um, I felt very disappointed because I had spent a lot of time preparing a photo book of a vacation the family had been on. And I didn't get the reaction I thought I should have gotten. You know, I wanted somebody to say, "Oh, Mom, you did such a good job." But it was like, "Oh, that's nice." And then they set it aside. So, you know, when our feelings, when we don't understand where they come from or how to manage them, they really pull us around, push us around, and they can make life unpleasant for us and other people around them. So, first, let's just talk about where feelings come from. I have to tell you, I was absolutely surprised to know that feelings don't just come by themselves. A thought comes first, and then the feelings come. Well, what the heck is that? That didn't make much sense to me. Um, and so it was interesting to learn that what caused the disappointment was an expectation. But when we don't know how to assess or look at our feelings, then we are just managed by them. We are pushed. When we're angry, we go in this direction because that's what we've always done. When we're sad, we go in that direction because that's what we've always done. Now, of course, we have positive emotions. Positive emotions aren't the problem. So that's why we're talking about negative emotions. But I like to talk about some reactions like a knee jerk reaction. You've all been to the doctor's office, sitting on the exam table, and they bring out the little rubber mallet and go bang, bang, bang below your knee to check your reflexes of your knee. That's what I call the knee jerk. And when we all of a sudden go into a negative emotion, I call that a knee jerk emotion. So what is our little mallet that's tapping below our knee, causing that immediate? And sometimes we don't even understand why. It just happens so often that we think. well, this is who I am, you know? Don't bug me about getting angry. I just want things to be a certain way, and I have a short temper, so don't bug me about that. Or, yeah, I'm depressed, so don't tell me to cheer up. That sort of thing. So, it's fun to talk about where emotions come from and where the thoughts come that are underneath those emotions. So, from the time we're little, any of you who have taken the first sphere of our meditation practice, ascension meditation, know that our environment, our family, our teachers, church, they all start creating grooves in our mind and our thinking. Grooves about, and we see this. Sometimes we're told, sometimes we watch a reaction from a parent. We do one thing and you can tell the mother is mad. So, boy, can't do that again. This is bad, but boy, that's good when she reacts happily. And we hear from our church leaders what is bad and what is good, what type of people um, we should be dealing with. And we hear from our teachers whether we're good or whether we're smart. And those sorts of things become our stories about ourselves or our beliefs about ourselves. So, one of the things that I learned after studying emotions, and my own in particular, was that I got from my mother that I was a disappointment. So you can imagine if I made any kind of little mistake or I didn't please her with what I did, that thought came up again. I'm a disappointment. And the more often those thoughts come up, the deeper the groove gets and the more we believe them. So, can you think of any particular belief about yourself that you got from school or church or family?
Yes, I can remember now. Let me share you a funny history or story about feelings. When I was 16 years old, all my friends has girlfriends except me. Me was alone, and one of my friends start telling me that I must sing a song of a very very famous Mexican singer called Juan Gabriel, and this song was the lyric was like this: I didn't born to love. I Yo no nací para amar. No one born for me. Imagine, este, and I don't remember the rest of the lyric, but it was about being alone. No
Yeah,
one born for me. I will be alone forever. So it's amazing how lyrics of songs can can affect my emotions. And I'm putting this because the surrounding, you say the parents, the school, the teachers, etc., but also the music you hear,
yes,
because the music you choose produce the emotion. And I have read some articles about music, and it's amazing how the music affect our memory, because
oh, yeah,
because people from elder ages, you can see that they don't have good memory, but they remember the songs
yes,
because it's recorded in all the brain. So I have a quote that I think is true, is where you put your attention, it will become your emotion.
Ah,
So I think it's very, 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 very important to observe where I am putting my attention, not only in thoughts, but also with which persons I am, which songs I'm choosing, which songs are in my playlist, because you can choose a playlist of happy songs that can evoke in you happy feelings. But if you choose in your playlist sad songs, you will feel sad. So
that
be
was me.
be very, very careful of where you put your attention, because it will become your feelings. That's my thinking.
Well, that is very important because so many of us are addicted to devices. Something on Facebook or news or maybe a movie. And so many of them these days are negative, they're violent, they, um, they create a distrust in others and in the government and in whether we're going to have a future. And so those things, whatever feelings, whatever thoughts we had that we got from parents or our environment, our teachers, our family history, what we tend to gravitate towards things on devices that help us say, boy, yeah, you know what, that's really true. Yeah, life won't turn out for me. You, for instance, might watch a sad movie where the fellow doesn't get his sweetheart, or he does and she dies in the end. And for me, it would have been things that said, I'm alone. So, yes, that is an extremely good point. And let me take, there are these shocking statistics about thoughts. Our brain just creates thoughts. If you think of a water wheel on an old mill that would go into the stream and come up and then dump the water and that would grind the grain. Well, our mind is kind of like that water wheel. It picks up an old thought. It brings it up to the awareness in our mind. And at that point, if we pay attention to it and give it a push, back down it goes again and it scoops up some more, brings it up again. And typically we give it a push. So that's just not me saying that. You've probably heard of Stanford University in California, very famous and important university. A lot of studies have come out of Stanford. And then there's the National Science Foundation. And both of those places have had um, scientists who did studies on thoughts. Now, I'm sure you're familiar with the number of thoughts that we have per day, 60,000.
Yes.
Well, my goodness, have you figured it out to know how many thoughts a minute that is?
Around 60 or how many?
Well, 60 thoughts a day. How many thoughts does that mean per minute? See, I don't do math and it doesn't really matter, but your mind is busy all the time. It's going all the time. It's scooping things up all the time. And 90%, 90 to 95 are repetitious. Same thoughts over and over and over and over again. I'm not good enough. Boy, I don't like our neighborhood. These neighbors aren't nice. And the world's going to hell in a handbasket. There's no future. 90 to 95% are repetitive, and of those, 80% are negative. Now that's shocking. We think about the same things over and over and over again. We think about something that happened in the past when we failed. Now, I'm not saying we don't have positive thoughts, but we have 90 to 95 repetitious thoughts, and 80% of those are negative. They can be experiences, they can be guilt or regret or anger about things in the past, about how things are in this present moment. Well, for instance, I woke up today and my eye was totally swollen shut. So I thought, oh dear, how am I going to be ready for this webinar? And so that would have been a time when I could have done some, oh, things aren't going to work out, I'm a disappointment. But here I am and things are fine. They can be thoughts that have anxiety and fear about the future. So, man, unless we have a way to manage, and from these thoughts come our negative emotions. So, man, now that would make you feel like it's helpless, it's hopeless, I can't change it. So when things happen, I'll just give you this quote. When things happen and we're caught up in negative emotions, we aren't likely to know, well, I'm feeling this way because my mom taught me to believe this type of person wasn't good. Or I'm feeling this because I don't believe I have a future. We just have the emotions. Well, the Buddha gave us an idea of how to look at these. Suffering, negative emotions, are caused by wanting life to be different than it is. We have beliefs, we have expectations about ourselves, about others, and when those expectations aren't met, up come those negative emotions. You know, if our children aren't performing the way we expect them to, or, for example, if a wife or husband think, well, if my spouse really loved me, they'd know what I'm thinking or what I want. You know, things like that. So, here's some other things to know about feeling. That's kind of like the bad part in the sense that it's the negative part and what drives us into negative emotions that affect our day. Here's the good part. Emotions come and go. They don't stay. Now, it might not feel that way because remember, our thoughts are repetitive. And so our emotions are repetitive. I'll give you an example of that. I was gone to get some training, and while I was gone, my whole department got fired. The whole department was just let go. So for a long time after that, every time I went on vacation, you know, that experience from the past would come up and I'd be anxious. Will there be a job waiting for me when I come back? And then to make things worse, the other company I worked with, they were cutting back. So at least twice, they were going to be cutting people. I was a writer in this department. They were going to be cutting people at the time when I was on vacation. So not only was I anxious about going on vacations, my eldest son lived through the same thing. And now the family's going for 2 weeks to Sicily. And he's very anxious about being gone when there's a big trial going on, even though his boss said he could, because my feelings, my anxiety about my job and being on vacations, he picked up on that. So here he is, an adult man with, he gets good performance reviews and he's anxious to go on this vacation. He's kind of scared that something bad will happen. Anyway, we know we can change those feelings if we change the thought. Now, here's an example. Let's say I'm arguing with my husband and the phone rings. Wow, 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 wow. Ding-a-ling-a-ling. Oh, hello, Morris residents. Well, how nice to hear from you. What's going on in your life? Instant switch. Have you ever experienced that?
Yes, yes, I can switch like this depending on the people I talk. Yes, yes.
And here's another example. You're driving behind someone. You think, that old person up there, they're so slow. They don't know what they're doing. Get a move on. And then you realize, that's my grandma's car. And instantly you have a different feeling. So feelings come and go. And because they are temporary, they aren't who we are. Who we are stays the same. And here's a quote. Well, I don't know how many of you watching this would be practitioners of the Ishaya's Ascension, but there's a book published called Dear Teacher, and the letters in that book are from Ishaya monks to our teacher, Maharishi Krishnananda Ishaya. And so we're going to quote a couple of times from it. Kali Ishaya wrote, feelings are just energy in emotion, energy in motion, energy flowing through us. Now, if you bump your toe, you grab that toe and hold on to it. So that feeling of pain isn't going up and through us. If we grab onto a feeling and hang on to it, it becomes part of that circle. If we just are aware of it and watch it and let it move, it passes. Now, if we hang on to it, or it's something that's really a deep held belief and expectation we have, it might return. But if we just keep watching it, remember that wheel at the mill, if when it comes up, we just observe it and give it a little, and don't push it by our reaction. And here's another quote from that same book. Emotions, feelings, and sensations rise and fall in our day-to-day experience. We are aware of our feelings and emotions, but we aren't our feelings and emotions. And maybe this should be, if we are aware of our feelings and emotions and the beliefs that drive them, we will understand we aren't those feelings and emotions. How do we come aware of them? Well, that's what my buddy Ananda is going to talk about next.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, yes, we have a tool that we want to share with you in order to desidentify. Is correct the word desidentify? Yes, desidentify from thoughts and of course from feelings, because in the Ishayas we think that we can treat the feelings the same way as thoughts. It's just energy, it's just stress releasing. So we're going to do an exercise and my companion is going to be my my conejillo de Indias. I don't know how to say that. My experiment is the mouse.
All right, I'll be the guinea pig.
That's the
That's
word I
it.
was looking for, because
Yeah.
in Mexico we said este rat, laboratory rat.
I like guinea pig better.
Yeah, I know. Okay, she's going to be that, and I'm going to do an exercise that we love to do in order to start this identifying from thoughts and feelings. So I hope that people that are looking this video will benefit from this exercise. Okay, what we are going to do, Madhurasa, is to count our thoughts in 1 minute. So I'm going to use my cellular phone in order to put 1 minute, and I'm going to ask you to just count how many thoughts you have
Do
in.
I close my eyes?
Yes, please. You are going to close your eyes. You are going to start counting the thoughts, and I will let you know when we finish the minute. And I have a tip for you. If you are doubting, you have doubt about, is that was a thought? Count it, because yes, it was a thought. Okay,
Oh,
okay, let's do it. Close your eyes and let's start counting our thoughts. Slowly, let's open our eyes. How many thoughts did you count, Madhurasa?
I didn't count,
Okay.
but I can say at first I had no thoughts. And then the thought was, then here came a thought. I'm not having any thoughts, so how is this going to work? And then I thought, gosh, a minute is a long time. So I didn't count the thoughts, but the thoughts when they did come were, I'm not thinking. How is this going to make the exercise work?
Okay, that was a thought, by the way.
Yes. Oh, yes, I know that.
Okay,
I just didn't count it.
let me tell you my experience. I was just relaxing, very relaxed, and I was like you, like, oh my God, I don't have thoughts, so I count the first one, and then I hear fan, so I say fan. Okay, fan is another word, so word is a thought, so let's count it, and I did like that, and I count in total seven thoughts in 1 minute. Now, let me ask you an important question. I make the calculation, and 60,000 thoughts per day is equivalent to 41 thoughts per minute. 41,
Oh my gosh.
41, 41. So my question is, Madhurasa, if the average of thoughts that humanity has in 1 minute is 41, how come we only had 7 thoughts and you just 2 or 3 thoughts? How come? Why?
I would say from doing my meditation practice.
That
And
is one of the reasons. Yes.
yeah, the other is learning. Well, first of all, I'm not aware, even in earlier years, of 41 thoughts a minute, but I would have been aware of the emotions that came from those thoughts, even if I wasn't aware of the specific thoughts. So I think learning that everything that goes through my head, thoughts or emotions, beliefs, just because they're in my head doesn't mean they're true. So when I could say, well, there it is, but not believe it, not think that's the way the world is, that's the way I am, that helped me, I think, to quiet down the thinking process.
Let me tell you another theory. Why you and me has less thoughts than the average. The theory is that we activate our alertness. When I gave the instruction of count your thoughts, you activate your awareness. Because if you are not aware, you don't have the capacity of counting the thoughts. So counting the thoughts means to be alert. So that's why we have just a few thoughts, because when you are alert, the quantity of thoughts is less. When you are not alert, the quantity of thoughts increase. And I have an amazing analogy for this. When you are in high school, in junior high school, or I don't know how to say it. In Mexico, we have secundaria and then high school. Well, before high school is just when you are like 12 years old or 13 years old, in that age. So in that high school, when the teacher tell the students, okay, I'm going to the bathroom, behave, don't get crazy, please be quiet, I'm going to be back in 5 minutes. What do the students do when the teacher leaves the classroom, Madhurasa?
Well, when the cat's away, the mice will play.
That's right. I love that quote. I love it. I love it. So all these kids, because they are young, they are teenagers, they do what they do is just talk, throwing airplanes, and do a lot of things that is a crazy thing. So I was like that. So this analogy make me comprehend what is alertness. Alertness is the teacher of this classroom, and the students are the thoughts. If you don't have a practice to train, to it's like a muscle. Awareness is like a muscle. You have to develop this skill of being alert. So after 11 years in my case of ascending, I'm used to activate my alertness. You have been practicing this for how many years, Madhurasa?
Over 20.
And that's why it's more easy for you to just don't have thoughts. So this is amazing, because if you are alert and you don't have thoughts, you don't have feelings.
Now we're talking about the negative ones mostly. And so Yes, if we're alert. And but it is a skill to be able to just sit and watch. Mostly when a thought goes by, again, I'll give the demonstration from Manu, one of our great teachers, who says, imagine this is a thought going by. And you just look at it. Here it comes, one you've had all sorts of times. Maybe it's about how smart you are. The thought goes by. If we let the thought go by, it comes and it goes, doesn't matter. We're alert, we watch. But if we grab onto that thought and believe this is who I am, then that's how we get into all of our negative emotions. So what you were talking about, watching the thoughts, it means that we've created a space between ourselves and the thought. And here's the cool thing. That space is a gap. And when we have the thought, and there's a little bit of a gap there for us to understand what's coming up, what our mind is doing, we can choose something different rather than it just being a knee-jerk reaction. This space is tremendously important because it's in this space that we experience the ascendant or our true self beyond all of the things that we've learned and believe, actually our original true self. And then we can make choices about what we want to do, how we're going to react. There in that case, there would be no emotion driving us. Like in the past, when certain things would happen, it was just a given how things were going to go, how I was going to react. So, for example, my husband and I having an argument. The argument was predictable. It just followed a certain path because the thoughts were thoughts I'd had 1,000 times before, and my action was a reaction I had 1,000 times before. And I remember thinking, well, I was going to write this story about a really frustrated wife who had a tape recorder kind of on the counter. So when the argument started, she kind of pushed that tape recorder on and tape recorded the argument. And the next time it came up, she would hand her spouse the tape and say, instead of doing that again, just play the tape. Because it always ends out the same. Now, when I learned that I was not my thoughts, they were just, or emotions, energy passing through, that my true self was something different than that, then I could create that space. And so when the thoughts or the emotions came up, there's a space that allows us to choose for something different. Now, often I just react, but then I go right back and clean it up instead of letting things go on and on and on down a path. So the spaces that we develop by watching, like you talked about, is very important.
And we're going to do now a different exercise. And instead of counting the thoughts, we're going to pretend that we are the great sun and the thoughts just clouds passing by. We're going to be the witness. Witnesser is the word? Witnesser?
The witness.
Witness? the witness of these thoughts, emotions, sensations in the body, or even sounds that you can hear outside. We're going to just witness all this movement. So let's do it for 2 minutes. In this second exercise, we're going to do it for 2 minutes. Don't count, just witness, just watch, just observe. Okay, let's do it, Madhurasa.
All righty.
For 2 minutes, you can close your eyes now and begin. Slowly, let's open our eyes. What was your experience, Madhurasa?
I think primarily it was of peace and relaxation, restfulness, just being, and really easy.
And you know something is more easy than the previous exercise because it do not require any effort of counting. We are just resting in our true nature, that is just to observe and enjoy. And this is amazing, just to recover our true powers, because it's like a superpower to be alert and just watch. It's a joyful skill that you, the one that is watching this video, that you can develop if you want. If you have a guide, if you have a will, the will to do it, the will to learn, the will to practice, you will do it. You will have it. And it's amazing because the other way of living, Madhurasa, you know that way of living is to grab thoughts, to grab feelings, to make stories about those thoughts and feelings and start suffering, start having a headache, start having a heart pain, etc., etc., etc. All those things that happen when you you grab thoughts, you grab feelings, you grab emotion from another person's thoughts from another person, and etc., etc., etc. So this is the path of Just let it go. Just watch. Just be alert and enjoy. And this is great. And this is not over. Madhurasa has another tool, an important tool for you that I'm sure it will help you to manage feelings. Tell us about that tool, Madhurasa.
Well, developing a practice of gratitude. Now, like back in the 80s, so it's quite a long time ago, woman writer wrote a book on her gratitude practice. And she had been in quite a depth of despair. And her emotions, these negative emotions, these 95% of repetitious thoughts and 80% of them negative, had caused her to go into a downward spiral. And so, that's what happens when we believe the stories and the feelings that are associated with thoughts that, aren't true when you're talking about the negative emotions. So, what she decided to do was to just write down, maybe somebody told her to do this, 3 things she could be grateful for every day. That sounds easy, doesn't it? Well, it's simple, but for her, it wasn't easy. She could not find, to begin with, 3 things to be grateful for. So it would be something like, I'm grateful that the sink isn't dripping anymore. Or I'm grateful that I've got a box of Kleenexes because I've got a stuffy nose. Or I'm grateful I have feet. So she really had to work hard at this. And the more she looked for what could I be grateful for, the more she was able to find things. The easier it was to put things down. So in our practice, the first thing we talk about in this upward spiral, see, she was in a downward spiral, but the first thing we talk about is praise. You can find something to praise about, even something you don't like. Like in Phoenix, where I live, some people have grass. And I think it's crazy. I'm going to tell you all the things that I think is wrong about it. First of all, we live in the desert. It takes a lot of water to keep the grass green. There's a certain type of grass that grows in the fall and the winter, and then it dies. And you overseed so that another kind of grass grows up in the summer, and then it dies, and you put the winter grass down. The cycle is crazy. So those are the reasons why I think grass it's just nuts in Phoenix. Well, what are the good things? Seeing something beautiful and green rests the eye. If everything you're seeing are buildings or desert or red rocks, a little swath of green causes the eye to rest. And it's cool. I remember visiting my uncle who laboriously tended a little patch of grass behind his house in Tucson. And there was a coyote who loved to come, and he would stretch out on the grass because the grass was cool and it was a wonderful place to come. And the grass brings, perhaps in his yard at least, rabbits, and it helped to create an environment for nature. So I don't like grass in Phoenix, but I can be grateful for certain things about having grass. So if we can't find something to pray, to be grateful for, just play the exercise, because whether you believe it or not, you can find something to praise. And out of that grows gratitude. And the interesting thing that's part of this upward cycle. And when we can be grateful for something, we can love something. And so this upward spiral is really fed by choosing to praise something and then being grateful. And what we focus our attention on grows. And so, along with meditating, as Ananda has shown us, just watching, no effort, the easier you let it be, the more pleasant and joyful it would be, the more you will find there's that little space. You might not notice it at first, but then you will. There's that space of absolute quiet and stillness. And in that space is joy. And out of that joy comes positive emotions. So you can see how keeping a gratitude journal can actually support your practice of learning how to just rest and not let thoughts of the past or the future or experiences dictate what you experience in a day. I can't hear you.
I got it. I got it.
Okay.
I have a short story for you that is about gratitude, and I think stories are wonderful tools to learn. I love stories, so I'm going to share with you my favorite great gratitude story. How do you say it when people is hairless? Is bald?
Bald.
Bald?
Bald.
Bald.
Got it.
Bald. Okay, got it. Got it. Got it. This story is about bald parrot that lives in the in the jungle, and this bald parrot has not hair not only in the head but in all the body. It was just hairless. Not hair, is featherless.
Yes.
Featherless. Sorry, and then this parrot was depressed. I mean, completely depressed. He lose his family, he lose his friends, he lose his health, he lose everything. And he was focusing his attention in the bad things about being featherless. No, he was very, very sad. So one day he says to himself, this life has no purpose. I will suicide myself. So he start walking in the tree, in the high, a very very high tree, in order to just fail and die, because for him it was no purpose in life. But God, in his infinite compassion, sent an angel just in front of this parrot, and the angel present to him as an angel, and the parrot says, you are God's angel? Yes, I am a God's angel. Can you make him a question? Can you tell him a question and tell me what he answers? Right away. I can be like this in instant. I can ask him whatever you want to ask. Okay, ask him, what can I do in my situation? Look at me. I'm featherless, I'm very thin, and I'm very depressed, and I don't want to live this way. So can you ask God, what can I do? Of course, give me 1 minute, just 1 minute. Wait, don't jump, don't jump. And so the angel goes with God, came back instantly, And the angel was like this: God told me to tell you that you have to start praying just this phrase and you will be healed. What is the phrase? Tell me the quote. Tell me, tell me. The phrase is thanks God for everything. So the parrot, at the beginning, he scratched his head and he says, for everything you said? You said for everything? Yes, he says that if you start saying that phrase all day and all night, you will be healed. And God said, yes, God said, okay, I will do it. I will do it. Thank you very much, my blessed angel. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So the parrot start praying with this amazing phrase. At the beginning, he didn't feel nothing. I mean, he said, and he just said, "Thanks God for everything," and he didn't feel nothing. I mean, any change, nothing. But after some days, he began to change his attitude. He started laughing. And when he was before the illness, he was very funny. He has this skill of telling jokes. So he started inviting the dove, the squirrel, and any other animal to just tell him jokes because he was good telling jokes. So he was like a stand-up parrot in the jungle. So the dove love his jokes and start bringing the parrot some nuts, some seeds, and some food in gratitude, just to give him back something for this amazing skill of happiness that this parrot has. So after some months, the whole tree of this parrot was full of animals enjoying the stand-up of this featherless parrot. So, so, this story continues, and after some years, the parrot start healing amazingly, magically. The feather start growing. He recovered his perfect weight. He was able to fly again, and he was as God created him. And this is the finish of the story. Just by praying, thanks God for everything.
I like that. I like that a lot. That goes right along with the gratitude practice, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. First, he had to thank God for everything is really like praising God, praising the world around, praising everything. And then the gratitude part started. And then I'm sure as he kept telling his jokes and animals kept coming, where there's gratitude, it can grow into love.
That's
And
right.
compassion, that upward spiral. So that story fits in very well.
I love it. And Ambika is a teacher from Saltillo, Mexico. Tell it to me. So when she tell it to me, I said I will tell this story a lot of times in the first spheres because I love this story, and I'm sharing this story now because I love it. It give me the puzzle that I need in my mind, because this story tell me how important is to develop and to cultivate gratitude thoughts in order to always be happy, because it cannot be a unhappy body in a gratitude mind. You have a gratitude mind, consequently you will have a happy life, a happy body, a happy life, happy relations, all because of gratitude. Gratitude is very, very, very important in life.
Yeah, I agree. However, I would say it doesn't mean that everything turns out right, but it means being able to stand in the middle of the storm with this sense of praise, gratitude, and love. Everything is all right for you because that's where you stand. So this fits in very well with the whole seminar of learning how to disengage, as you put it, with the negative thought and emotion patterns that actually, before we learned about this, I can say they drove my life. But now that there's so much space, doesn't mean I don't get angry, sad, frustrated, you know, but they are just emotions flowing through, energy in motion.
And an important thing to remember is that we are here to come back. We are not here to take out or whip and start
Oh,
with guilt, hitting ourselves. No, no, no. This is not the purpose of life. The purpose of life is to get rid of this whip and
yep.
start choosing again.
Get rid of the
Choosing.
whippito.
Yes, the whipito. Yes, the whipito. So that is the purpose of life, to get rid of this whip and to just come back with gratitude, with praise, with love thoughts. And that's the only thing we can do, just to come back for the whole life, because this is a eternal mastery. This is eternal mastery. We have to do it for our whole life.
Yeah, so I'm thinking this would be a good time to just recapitulate some important points. First one, we are aware of thoughts, but we aren't our thoughts. If we can watch our thoughts like we watch a cloud, then we obviously aren't the thoughts. If we could watch them passing by out there. The second one, of course, that ties in so well with these. And remember, we're talking about the 80% of negative thoughts. We can experience our feelings, but we aren't our feelings. Just like we can experience our thoughts, but we aren't our thoughts, and we aren't our feelings. And we can experience this when we learn to put our thoughts, watch our thoughts from a distance, to know that they aren't us. And that creates the space. Now, the space is really important because in that space, there's choice. We can choose what we want our reactions to be. So there's a quote in here someplace. I'm going to see if I can find it because it was from a friend of mine and I wanted to use it. But then, of course, when you want to find something,
You can tell the poem that you wrote if you want.
Yeah, I'll do
Okay,
that
let's do
instead
it.
of
Let's do it.
her
Let me show
quote.
you the quote in the screen, okay?
Well, I'll tell you first that I was sorting through some things in my office and I happened to find a notebook that was full of poems, and I just flipped it open. And here was this poem, which I thought was a perfect way to end the webinar.
Is the screen in the screen your poem? So tell us your poem, please.
Okay. Who am I? My thoughts and feelings, or the self deep within, awareness without limits, silent and still. I know her. She is pure presence, has no will but God's will. I see her when I gaze through illusion's veil.
¡Ajo! Bien, muy bien, Madhurasa. I love it. I love it. I love this poem. Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for spending this delightful hour with me.
It was amazing, Madhurasa, and I don't know how many persons will watch this video, but I'm sure it's benefit for us, and that is enough.
That is true. Absolutely true.
Yes. In A Course in Miracles, it says that you will learn only what you are willing to teach.
Wow.
Yes. And I agree. When I teach, I learn.
True. True.
Thank you, Madhurasa. I love you.
Love you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. See you in the next class. I don't know what is going to be the topic, but it's going to be amazing. See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.